of the National Government Constituencies Development Fund Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 4 of 2021. A question will also be put to this particular motion, and the bill will proceed to the third reading. Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Justin Muturi, has stepped into the chambers. He will be presiding over this afternoon sitting. I will now hand you brought to you by Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit in partnership with Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. Good afternoon. My name is Kamchemenza. Enjoy the viewing.
Let us pray. Almighty God, who in wisdom and goodness have appointed the office of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to behold with your abundant favor us, your servants, whom you've been pleased to call to the performance of important trust in this republic. Let your blessings descend upon us, the assembled, and grant, treat, and consider all matters that shall come at our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests were committed to our charge. Amen. Very clear that we don't have quorum, and order that the quorum bell be rung.
The Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Justin Muturi, has just ordered that the quorum bell be rung for 10 minutes. This is to allow members who are not yet in the chambers to get into the chambers for the commencement of the House business this afternoon. But a look at what is lined up for debate by the members of the National Assembly is that members will also be considering a motion on the approval of amendments to the standing orders. This will be a general debate. At the entrance of the chambers, however, you can see that members are slowly streaming into the chambers. Of course, the House needs a total number of 50 members to achieve its requisite quorum number for the commencement of the business. So the quorum bell is currently underway for 10 minutes for members to walk into the chambers. The motion on the approval of amendments to the standing orders is lined up for consideration by the members of the National Assembly this afternoon. It's a motion by the Chairperson, Procedure and House Rules Committee that the House adopts the fifth report of the Procedure and House Rules Committee on amendments to the standing order laid on the table of the House on Thursday, May of 26th, the year 2022, and that it approves the proposed amendments to the standing orders as contained in the first schedule to the report. as well as further resolves that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 265, that the amendments made to the standing orders shall commence upon the expiry of the term of the 12th Parliament, and that despite this particular provision, the proposed new standing order shall take effect immediately. On members' biodata and roll, that it shall take effect immediately. Members of the National Assembly will also be starting the debate on the Supreme Court Amendment Bill, a National Assembly Bill number 15 of the year 2022, a bill by the leader of a majority party. It is a bill that is at its second stage. The Supreme Court Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 15 of 2022, seeks to amend the Supreme Court Act 2011 in order to align it with the current practices of the court and to improve the court's efficiency in the discharge of its duties. A number of sections of the Act have been declared unconstitutional, and there is need to have the same reflected in the Act. Furthermore, the court has recommended amendment to the Act in various cases. It is therefore necessary in these circumstances to update the Supreme Court's governing statute. The bill has a total of 31 clauses. Clause 2 of the bill seeks to amend Section 2 of the Act by deleting the definition of chief registrar, amending the definition of court and registrar, and inserting new definitions in the Act with respect to petition, proceedings, preliminary procedures, and president. Clause 3 of the bill amends Section 3, subsection D of the Act to remove the reference to matters relating to the transition from the former constitution to the current one, as these matters will still be catered for even without direct reference. Clause 5 of this bill repeals Section 4 of the Act and substitutes it with a new section which provides that a vacancy in the Supreme Court shall not affect the jurisdiction of the court as long as the bench has 5 judges. That a vacancy in the Supreme Court shall not affect the jurisdiction of the court as long as the bench has 5 judges. This is a bill by the leader of a majority party. It is a bill that is at its second stage, will be read for the second time this afternoon, and members will start debate on this particular bill. Clause 6 of the bill provides that in the absence of the Chief Justice and Deputy Chief Justice, the most senior available judge shall perform any necessary administrative duty. That in the absence of the Chief Justice and Deputy Chief Justice, then the most senior available judge shall perform any necessary administrative duty. A motion is also lined up for consideration on the report on the examination of the financial statements for the national government for the financial year 2018-2019. Members are slowly walking into the chambers. Honorable Emmanuel Wangwe is at the entrance of the chambers. And of course, hoping that members will also be getting into the chambers to enable the House attain the requisite number for the House to commence its business. It is a 10-minute quorum bell that is currently underway, as the House does not have the requisite numbers for the business of the day to commence. But once the House achieves its number, then the business will commence immediately. The motion on the report of the examination of the financial statements for the national government for the financial year 2018-2019 is by the Chairperson Public Accounts Committee, and that will require the House to adopt the report of the Public Accounts Committee on the examination of the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements for the national government for the financial year 2018-2019 that was laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, May the 17th, the year 2022. The National Rating Bill, National Assembly Bill number 10 of 2022 by the Leader of Majority, is also lined up for second reading this afternoon. This bill seeks to provide for enhancement, certainty, uniformity, and fairness in levying of property rates by the counties. The bill further seeks to provide a buoyant source of revenue for county governments. The revenue is necessary to enable each county government perform the functions assigned to county governments as set in the 4th schedule to the Constitution and enable the county government realize its development agenda. This particular bill on the national rating is a bill that seeks to provide for enhancement, certainty, uniformity, and fairness in levying of property rates by the counties. It further seeks to provide a buoyant source of revenue for county governments. The revenue is necessary to enable each county government perform the functions assigned to the county government as set in the 4th schedule to the Constitution and enable county governments realize its development agenda. The bill also provides for the establishment of the National Rating Tribunal responsible for resolution of disputes relating to property rating. Some of the amendments that are being proposed in this particular bill is that the bill contains provisions on the valuation for rating. The part gives the general basis of valuation, a declaration of rateable areas and methods used for valuation. Also provides for preparation and contents of valuation rolls and supplementary valuation rolls, together with their alterations, publication of the roll, the objections thereof, and exemptions are provided for in the part. Uncontested draft valuation roll and draft supplementary valuation roll are also provided for in clause 35. Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Moses Cheboy, engaging the Sergeant at Arms at the entrance. Currently what is underway is a quorum bell, a 10-minute quorum bell that allows members who are not yet in the chambers to get into the chambers. Of course, the House business cannot start without the requisite number. 50 members are required to be physically present at the House or inside the chambers for business of the day to kick off. So basically, currently, members are still walking into the chambers for the House to attain the requisite quorum to kick off its business. The Kenya Roads Board Amendment Bill, a National Assembly Bill number 13 over 2022 by the Chairperson Departmental Committee on Transport, Public Works and Housing, is also lined up for second reading. The principal object of this particular bill is to amend Section 6 of the Kenya Roads Board Act 2009 to enable the board to manage the Kenya Roads Fund in a manner that allows it to better finance the construction and maintenance of roads. The principal object of this particular bill, the Kenya Roads Board, is to amend Section 6 of the Kenya Roads Board Act 2009 to enable the board to manage the Kenya Roads Fund in a manner that allows it to better finance the constitution and maintenance.
We may commence.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Honourable members, as you may be aware, this week started off on a solemn note for the National Assembly and indeed the country, following the untimely demise of the member for Rabai constituency, the Honourable William Kamoti Momkale. The late Honourable Kamoti Momkale passed on at night on Sunday, 29th May 2022, following a tragic road accident that occurred at Mnarani in Kilifi County along the Mombasa-Malindi Highway. Honourable members, the late Honourable Kamoti was born on 21st of July 1962 in Kiliang'ombe village in Rabai constituency. He attended Kiliang'ombe Primary School, where he sat for his certificate of primary education before proceeding to Dr. Kraft Memorial Secondary School for O-level education. Thereafter, the late Honourable Kamoti joined the prestigious St. Mary's Yala School, where he sat for and excelled in the Kenya Advanced Certificate of Education, KCE. His excellent performance earned him a place at the University of Nairobi, where he pursued the Bachelor of Laws degree and graduated in 1987. Thereafter, he pursued and deservedly earned a diploma in law from the Kenya School of Law in 1990. Following which, he was admitted to the role of advocate. Honourable members, after completing his studies, the late Honourable Kamoti began his legal practice in earnest by establishing Kamoti & Co. Advocates in 1996. He is celebrated as having been a friendly, humble, fearless, and sharp and astute legal mind. In addition to private legal practice, the late member and a stint as a Registrar of Titles in the then Ministry of Lands and Settlement, as a Registrar of Titles at Adi House, and as a District Land Registrar in the then Mombasa and in Kwale districts. In 2013, the late Honourable Kamoti took a stab at elective politics and won the seat of Member of Parliament for Rabai constituency. He was re-elected to Parliament in August 2017 and was at the tail end of completing service for 2 terms of Parliament. The departed colleague still quested for service to the people of Rabai constituency and the nation. At the time of his untimely demise, he was returning home after successfully submitting nomination papers to the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission to seek re-election for the 3rd term in the forthcoming general elections in August. Honourable members, until his premature demise, the late Honourable Kamoti was an active member of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs and Select Committee on Delegated Legislation. The National Assembly, Rabai constituency, and indeed the nation have lost a dependable and astute leader who served his constituents and the nation with utmost dedication. In him was an amiable legislator who epitomized non-confrontational politics, a stance that he exhibited both in this House and after in the House. Honourable members, in accordance with Islamic tradition, the remains of our departed colleague were interred yesterday evening, Monday 30th May 2022, at his ancestral home in Kiliang'ombe village in Rabai constituency. That notwithstanding, in line with the Parliamentary Service Commission's bereavement policy, I already constituted an ad hoc funeral committee chaired by the member of Oganze constituency, the Honorable Tendi Mwambire. Although the burial rites for the departed colleague were conducted yesterday, the committee is requested to liaise with the family of the deceased member and coordinate the National Assembly's support to the family in accordance with the Parliamentary Service Commission's bereavement policy. Honourable members, on behalf of all members, parliamentary staff, and indeed on my own behalf, I wish to convey our heartfelt condolences to the family of the late Honourable William Kamoti Mwamkale, the people of Rabai constituency, all his relatives and friends. In honor of the dedicated service that the late Honourable William Kamoti Mwamkale rendered to his colleague, constituents, the community, and the nation, I request that we all stand and observe a moment of silence. May God dwell him in the most beautiful and highest paradise. I thank you, members. Honorable Manzo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to eulogize the late Kamoti. Mr. Speaker, I've served with him in the Committee of Delegated Legislation for 10 years. And unfortunately, we lost him this weekend. Mr. Speaker, I need to pass condolences from Makueni, the people of Makueni, and also to his family and the constituents. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Nyando.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, and I join you and my colleagues in immortalizing our departed colleague. Honorable Speaker, just as you have said, Honorable Kamoti did not present himself as a politician. The bravado that is constantly expressed by members of this House was far off in his radar. And I remember, Honorable Speaker, in 2019, in December, you selected me and Honorable Kamoti to join you for a visit of Abu Dhabi. And Honorable Speaker, that is the time that I came to know Kamoti at a personal, on a personal view. And he was such a humble person. Little would somebody have ever imagined that he was a lawyer, even to begin with. And during the 1 week, Honorable Speaker, that you took us out, he really presented himself as a gentleman. The visit that you took us to be with our ambassador in his Majlis in Abu Dhabi, he was just a fine person. And the people of Nyando constituency, where I represent, joined me and you and the entire House to wish his family grace from the Almighty God and the people of Rabai. And this is a person who has dedicated his life to service to humanity. At the party level, ODM, where he was an ardent supporter, we have really lost a gem within us. And Honorable Speaker, we join you in mourning the death of our departed colleague. And I thank you for the opportunity.
Honorable Angwe.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, on behalf of the great people of Nabaholo, and on my own behalf, Honorable Speaker, allow me to pass my sincere condolences to the family of the late Honorable Mwamkale Kamoti. Honorable Speaker, I happen to have served with the late Honorable in the Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs. And before then, Honorable Speaker, in 2013, when we all came into this House, he invited us, Honorable Speaker, to Rabai when he was celebrating his homecoming party. I had the privilege of sharing with the people of Rabai. And Honorable Speaker, this man, the Honorable MP for Rabai, the late Honorable Kamoti, was such a humble person. Honorable Speaker, whenever we could go to the committees, he was very patient. He was very accommodative in terms of consultations. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, we will miss him great. But we all say, let his soul rest in eternity. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me this opportune time to mourn our departed colleague, Honorable Kanoti Mwamkale. He was a humble man. I just remember we worked with him in Jailer Committee. He was a very good colleague. We missed him. And on behalf of Vihiga County and the Aman National Congress, I wish to convey my condolences to the family. May God see them through this trying moment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Honorable Odur Adhiambo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'd also like to join you and the entire House in mourning the loss of our very distinguished colleague, Honorable Kamote, and to say, Honorable Speaker, that it is refreshing when we come to the House and we can find that there are indeed many members whose countenance, manner of engagement, and whose deliberation would reflect humility, leadership, and a true reflection of their professionalism. On behalf of the ODM party, Honorable Speaker, that has enabled me to join the National Assembly and have the honor to work with him, I'd like to convey sincere condolences to the family. May his soul rest in peace. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Very well. Honourable members, before we proceed, allow me to recognize the presence in the public gallery of students and pupils from the following institutions: those from Suwerwa Girls, Cheranganyi constituency, Trans Nzoia County, and those Roiro constituency, Kiambu County. They are all welcome to observe the proceedings of the National Assembly this afternoon. Fatuma Gedi, you put an intervention.
Oh, okay. Mr. Speaker, eulogy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I really want to take this opportunity to eulogize and pass my condolences to the family of Mr. Kamuti. Mr. Speaker, I served with him I served with the Honorable Member in delegated legislation, Mr. Speaker, where I was a Vice Chair. I remember when the start of the corona, Mr. Speaker, and it was new to Kenya, the Honorable Member was got corona, and it was a really big panic in the House. And the last, before he got corona, Mr. Speaker, I had contact with him. And the clerk was very concerned. He called every person. Before the clerk called, he called me, Mr. Speaker, and told me, I think you need to quarantine yourself. So he was somebody who really cared, not about himself, but also the welfare of the members and his friends. So, Mr. Speaker, it's a big loss. I was in Wajir when I had the news. It was really shocked because we, as human beings, we have our own plans, and God has his own plan. So may Allah rest his soul in eternal peace, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for the opportunity.
Honorable Kingara. I think there's a problem with the machine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for according me.
That's me. I have the floor. Put off that one.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for according me this opportunity, especially first to mourn my good friend. He used to speak Swahili, so I liked him very much. Also very humble. We have lost a good mentor, but we leave it to God. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you once again for your leadership, for allowing us an opportunity to have our pupils attending here and learning from the real time of what is happening here. Mr. Speaker, sir, I want just put it across that this is one of the most populated primary school in this country with over 4,000 pupils. As I stand here, over 700 of them will be sitting for the Class 8 examination. The unfortunate bit, Mr. Speaker, sir, which I would also wish it goes to record, they are sitting on a half an acre land, piece of land, you can imagine. So squeezed. So as we look forward for improving our education sector, this is one of the exposure chair of education maybe would assist us so that we progress, and I'm grateful that you have given me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Member for Kwanza.
The Speaker, I join you and the rest of our colleagues to say Paule to my colleague Komoso, who actually in 2015 I invited him to come to Trans Nzoia, Kwanza for Harambee, and on the behalf of people of Kwanza, I want to say my condolences to the family and really miss him because I just arrived from Trans Nzoia, and the memory is very, very clear. He's such a humble person, but that's God's will. Let him rest in peace. Thank you.
I don't know. I think the staff, whoever it is responsible for these things, I can see, I think a number of members raising hands. The machines are not working. Honorable Sabina Chege.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to join this House in mourning our colleague, Honorable William Kamute. Honorable Speaker, I was with the MP 2 or 3 weeks ago when we had gone to Kilifi, and he was a very staunch supporter of the ODM party, and one of the MPs was also active here in Parliament. And so I take this opportunity on my behalf and on behalf of people of Muranga to send our condolences to the family. And Mr. Speaker, this is very sad when we are coming to almost the end of this Parliament, and I know majority of the members will be seeking for their re-election. I want to pray to God that God may protect our colleagues who are here and who are also out in the fields looking for votes, that, Mr. Speaker, we do not lose any other person through the accident or through any other means. So, Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, I pray that God will preserve us and protect our colleagues as they are busy trying to look for votes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Nambale.
Thank you very much, Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I condole the Honorable Kamoti. I got to know Honorable Kamoti just by being friendly on this floor, and then we became personal friends and had frequent communications and conversations. He had a deep mind and a humble demeanor. I think that not many people with a combination of all that and the political positions can manage, and he did. And it was particularly shocking because of the high efficiency of the Islamic faith in managing the time between death and interment, making it so short. For the time you hear it, you begin to ask questions. When is the burial? You say, well, it's been interned, it's going to be interned. But let us pray that the Almighty God receives him and keeps him in eternal peace. Thank you.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa heshima ya Mheshimiwa Kamuti ambaye wakati mwingi alikuwa na penda sana kuongea Kiswahili, nataka kutoa mkono wa yake, na pia tutoe bega la kujiegemeza wakati huu mgumu, wakati wamempoteza mmoja wao. Nasema kwamba Mheshimiwa Kamote tumekuwa na yeye, tulichaguliwa wakati mmoja, na ni mtu ambaye nilijua, nilielekea mpaka kule kwao Pwani katika constitution ya Rabai. Alikuwa mpole sana, lakini wakati alikuwa kule mashinani watu walikuwa wanampenda sana. Na nakumbuka miezi miwili iliyopita wakati tulikuwa tumeenda na baba kule, tulikuwa na mkutano kubwa sana wa kufana, na yeye pia alionekana ni mtu wa watu sana. Kwa hivyo nataka kwa niaba yangu binafsi, familia yangu na wale ambao nawakilisha kule Kieni, nitoe mkono wa buriani kwa familia ya mwenda zake, na tuyaombee familia yake amani, na pia ili wawe na ujasiri wakati huu mgumu. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Now, members, I've noticed one thing. Members have assumed that when you just get a chance to condole the family of our colleague, then you speak for, you are timed to speak for 2 minutes, and then after that I see everybody walking. So I don't know who is going to be left here to do the rest of the business. So the best thing is I cut all of you off. Yes, because look at everybody who has spoken, other than the great ladies here and the Honorable Wanyonyi. The rest, very few. The rest they have taken off. Honor members, there's still business, as you appreciate. Serious business. Member for Matungulu.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of the people of Matungulu and the entire Kamba Nation, we want to pass our condolences to Honorable Kamoti of Rabai, who have served with him 2 terms here in this Parliament. He was a very humble member, very down to earth, and very connected to the people. At the same time, I want to pass condolence to the people of Kajiado for the loss of our colleague, Mheshimiwa Memusi, who lost his wife this morning through also an accident. Mr. Speaker, it is a very trying moment. I just want to urge my colleagues and friends, let's be careful as we traverse the country looking for votes. May their life and souls rest in eternal peace. God bless this country.
Is that a member for Kisauni? At some point your card was showing.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii ya mimi kama mbunge wa Kisauni, kwa niaba ya watu wa Kisauni, nataka kuchukua fursa hii kutoa pole zangu na kupeana mkono wa buriani kwa mheshimiwa mwenzetu aliyetuacha jana kutokana na ajali ya barabarani. Mheshimiwa Kamoti alikuwa tu si mjumbe, lakini pia alikuwa anaishi katika constituency yangu, na ni katika Kisauni na Rabai, ni constituency mbili ambazo zimeshikana Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa hivyo ni mtu aliyekuwa karibu sana na mimi, kwa sababu mahitaji yake kama mwananchi anaishi katika eneo langu yalikuwa yanapitia kwangu ili niweze kuyatatua. Na ni hivi juzi tu Mheshimiwa Spika, niliweza kutengeza barabara kupitia pale alipokuwa anaishi Mheshimiwa marehemu Kamoti, lakini Mwenyezi Mungu alikuwa na mipango mingine. Ni juzi tu tulikuwa tumekuwa na yeye akiwa anaenda kupeleka makaratasi yake ya IBC, amekuwa cleared na IBC, amepatiwa certificate yake. Wakati anarudi nyumbani, maafa yakampata katika barabara. Kwa hivyo nachukua fursa hii kwa niaba ya watu wa Kisauni na mimi mwenyewe binafsi kutoa pole nyingi sana kwa familia ya marehemu Kamoti. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
Member for Nandi Hills.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to join my colleagues in sending my condolences to the family of the bereaved family, Honorable Kamoti. That, Mr. Speaker, I served with Honorable Kamoti in the 11th Parliament and 12th Parliament.
And having heard from my colleagues, he was very reserved and very humble. He was not outspoken like some of us. But one thing that I realized about Honorable Kamoti was that he was very organized in terms of representation of his people. I remember I supported him in 2 fundraisings, and I remember the motions that he brought before this house, which were touching on the Rabbi community and the Mijigenda in Kilifi County. And as I said that, Mr. Speaker, we also want to pray for this country to have a peaceful election, and that may all the aspirants do it peacefully. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Lamu.
Asante Bwana Spika. Nami nitoe rambirambi zangu kwa Mheshimiwa Kamoti na bibi ya Mheshimiwa Memusi. Bwana Spika, Mheshimiwa Kamoti, nimepata nafasi kwenda na yeye Amerika. Ni mtu mkarimu, mtu mpole, mtu mtendakazi, na tulipata nafasi ya kujijua tabia zetu, tulifundishwa kujua tabia zetu, akajieleza na sote tukajieleza. Mungu amweke pema na familia yake, Mungu awasaidie, awape moyo wakati huu mzito. Bwana Spika, mimi kweli amepata ajali ya barabara, lakini naomba serikali ichunguze. Wakati huu ni mgumu, wakati huu kuna changamoto nyingi, isije ikawa ni barabara ili mtu amepitia kwa namna hiyo. Maana yake sisi wabunge tuna maadui wengi. Mtu anaweza kuleta ikawa ni ajali ya barabara, kumbe mtu amepangiwa. Kama sisi wengine tunaenda na mabot Lamu, mtu amekupangia kisha onekane ni imekuwa tu accident ya kawaida. Kwa hivyo naomba serikali ichunguze kwa kina, ijue kweli ni ajali. Isiwe mtu amejificha hapo kusema ni ajali. Asante Bwana Speaker, thank you.
Member for Madhya.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also pass my sincere condolences and those of the people I represent to the family of our bereaved brother and a friend. We sincerely say Pole to his family and to the people of Rabai constituency. May his soul rest in eternal peace. And Honorable Speaker, I think this has been a very challenging term. I don't think we have ever lost so many members in one term, like this particular term. But the hand of death, we pray that it will not continue robbing us, such astute leaders like Kamoti. We pray that God will comfort the family, comfort the people of this country, and especially this House, Honorable Speaker. Thank you for that opportunity. May his soul rest in eternal peace.
Member for Royal Suburbs. You don't have a card?
I have, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, also for allowing me a chance to mourn colleague and dear friend, and to, on behalf of my own behalf and my family and the people of Roysabu, said my message of sympathies and condolences to his family, his spouse, and the people of Labai. We pray to the Lord to rest his soul in eternal peace in the bosom of Abraham. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Next order.
Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
Majority Whip.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House. Today, Tuesday, May 31st, 2022. 1. Legal notice number 84 of 2022 relating to the scrap metal dealers rule 2022 and the explanatory memorandum from the Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development. 2. Implementation status of the Special Funds Accounts Committee report for the year 2016-2017, 2017-2018, and 2018-2019. 3. Report of the Auditor General and financial statements in respect of the following institutions for the year ended 30th June 2020 and certificates therein. 1. Chemelil Sugar Company Limited. 2. Agricultural Development Corporation. 4. Report of the Auditor General and financial statements in respect of the following institutions for the year ended 30 June 2021 and certificates therein. 1. Occupational Safety and Health Fund. 2. Cooperative Society Equalization Fund. 3. Management and Supervisory Fund. 4. State Department for Cooperatives. 5. Salaries and Remuneration Commission Mortgage and Car Loan Scheme Fund. 6. Insurance Regulatory Authority. 7. Development Revenue Statements. 8. Revenue Statements for the Ministry of Lands and Physical Planning. 9. Street Families Rehabilitation Trust Fund. 10. Kenya Institute for Public Policy Research and Analysis, KIPRA. 11. The Judiciary. 12. National Land Commission. 13. Agricultural Information Resource Center Revolving Fund. And last, 14. The Ministry of Energy. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Very well. There was indication that the chairman of the Public Investments Committee was to table the 24th reports, but I see is conspicuously missing. So that business will be jumped. Meaning also the next order, he was the one to give notice. Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Proceed.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
There are no questions, no statements, so proceed to next order.
Order number 8, motion. Report of the Committee of Supply on the budget estimates for the financial year 2022-2023. Question to be put.
Honourable members, I think this is going to be a unique year when, because it's obvious, honourable members, as I commented earlier on, members can make a 1 minute or 30 seconds comment, bonga points inaingia, out. Members don't seem to pay attention to the business. Today's business, where I'm putting the question, is no way any responsible leader can put a question when we don't have more than 50 of you here on the budget estimates. So unless at some point in the course of this sitting, the House can attain quorum, because even those who are there when we started have since left. It means we may not put this question, and by not putting this question today, it also means, because it is good for us to keep doing these refresher courses, even as we come to the tail end of the 12th Parliament, that by therefore not being able to put this question, it means that the Treasury cannot therefore prepare the appropriations bill. The appropriations bill for the 2022-2023 financial year. So I think it's good for members to know that, and if it is the intention that there should be no budget, members can indicate, so they can just stay in the village and don't bother coming here, because there's no point of coming. Just come, tick, you press your finger and you disappear. You stay for 2 minutes. I've not seen this. I've sat in this house in the 8th Parliament. I've sat in this house in the 9th Parliament. I've sat in the 11th, and this 12th is a unique one, where people don't even read what is coming before the House. A lot of this information. It is good to be here. But now, look at the members who are here. The Constitution has placed a quorum of 50. And I'm conscious that quorum is important, particularly when you are making a decision. You can debate the rest, because the House is a house of record. But surely, when a decision is momentous, is this one, where you are being requested to approve the issuance of a sum in excess of 2.1 trillion. Surely, if not more than 50 are here, I find it difficult. There's no way I can put a question. So honourable members, I have no option. Even if there's going to be no budget, there's no way I'm going to assume that even nobody has raised the issue of quorum. But I can see you are not 50. You are barely 30-something. So unless you cannot. The bell was rang when we started, and we attained quorum to start. But you can transact any other business, but not where it shows questions are to be put. So the business appearing as order number 8, which was to put the question on the report of the Committee of Supply on the budget estimates for the financial year 2022-2023, is deferred to Thursday, 2nd of June in the afternoon, hoping that we will have quorum. The next business, again, under number 9, is a report of the Committee of the Whole House on the National Government Constituencies Development Fund Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 4 of 2021. Question was to be put as well as third reading. Even that which I thought touches very many members should have been business enough to attract more than 100 of you here. Again, I cannot put the question because we don't have appropriate quorum or the requisite quorum. So we move on to the next business.
Order number 10, approval of the amendments to the standing orders.
Deputy Speaker.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that this House adopts the 5th report of the Procedure and House Rules Committee on amendments to the standing orders laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 26th May 2022, and pursuant to provisions of Standing Order 264, approves the proposed amendments to the standing orders as contained in the first schedule to the report, and further resolves that, Roman 1, pursuant to provisions of Standing Order 265, amendment made to the standing order shall commence upon expiry of the term of 12th Parliament, and despite paragraph 1 above, the proposed standing orders 259 F5, which is members' biodata and roll, shall take effect immediately. Honorable Speaker, basically what we are doing now is actually writing the 12th Parliament political will, because, members, I can tell you that when this is being done in the House, it's to tell you that you probably have less than a fortnight remaining in your term in Parliament here. Of course, because of the amendment to the Constitution, which gave the members of Parliament an opportunity to serve until the end of their term on a specific period. But when this House is adjourned sine die, basically will not be having work within the Assembly. So what we are doing is writing a legislative will, preparing for those who will be taking over in the 13th Parliament. The only good thing about this will is that it is possible that you are going to enjoy the benefits of the will. Some will, some will not. Some obviously will not because they have chosen to go to other offices. Others have even decided that they are not going to run. And others, as is normal, will face the normal attrition of the House. So, Mr. Speaker, as I've said, this is the will, and I'd expect the members to be very keen, because it tells you what to expect in the next Parliament. It tells you what you will see, and I want you to be very keen, honourable members. There will be very many things that will come in the course of this, and I'll be very brief. But it includes, for example, some bills being saved, that when a bill has started and you are sponsoring it, for example, if this House is adjourned sine die, and it will very shortly, members, you can as well come back and take it over from where you had left if you come back. So those are the many things. There are many things that will come out of this. And honorable members, I want you to be very keen, because there are also, and I will tell you, the members also, I know you know that to serve in this National Assembly, you have to be in a committee or another. There will be somewhere here that you will know that there are new committees that that will have been created out of this, and if you pass it, you know you will want to know them well before you go home, so that when you come back, you will be sure which one you want to serve and you have the qualifications to do. So let me leave that for now and say, of course, that there are many ways of amending standing orders. This is one of them. Standing Order 263.1 stipulates that even a member may, with support of at least 50 other members, request the Procedure and House Rules Committee to consider an amendment to the standing orders. Additionally, Standing Order 264 provides that at least once in every term of Parliament, and this is the specific thing we are doing now, at least once in every term of Parliament, the Procedure and House Rules Committee, which is chaired by our Speaker. Many times some members think that I chair it. I don't. I only chair it when it is made a subcommittee of the main committee, which is chaired by the Speaker himself. Once that is done, you are able to amend standing orders. And the beauty about this is the only opportunity that we have in a normal circumstances. Sometimes extraordinary circumstances demand that the Speaker can, preside over committees of the whole. Special circumstances. But this is that circumstance which is not special. When this matter will be dispensed with, the chair of the committee of the whole will be the Speaker himself. Because it's such an important thing. What the Speaker will be doing is that he will be now preparing this House for the next, or preparing the next House for, having served in this particular House, the 12th Parliament. He has known the specific areas that need to be polished, and he will be sitting there himself to polish it with the help of members. Honorable Speaker, I want to make a special mention that within Parliament, the committees received and considered views from members, committees of the House, and parliamentary caucus groups. I am saying that because for the first time, Mr. Speaker, we have had, and it was done deliberately, I think because of the circumstances that have been coming, sometimes Parliament taken to court and so forth, the public were requested to submit memoranda. Unfortunately, I think this is an area where the public is not very interested, and for a good reason. This is a basic fault for the members of Parliament themselves. They did not give any representation. But the members of the Assembly, together with some committees, gave some views which we considered as a committee. The first one, the Constitutional Implementation Oversight Committee, CIOC, made a submission on raising of point of order, lapsing and reintroduction of bills, proposed expediting and processing of bills, and incorporation of CIOC in the standing order. The Honorable Aden Duale, member for Garissa Town, also made submissions on, amongst others, the place of omnibus bills. I'm sure members are quite familiar with omnibus bills in the legislative process, and he proposed also the strengthening of leadership offices, majority leader and minority leader, minority whip, majority whip, and also consideration of Constitution of Kenya amendment bills, and also handling of members' personal data. 3, the Parliamentary Caucus on Business and Economy. In this Parliament, in this Assembly, we have a caucus on business and economy. They made submissions regarding the handling of treaties by Parliament. You will get to know that. And read, and members, I urge you to read the report. It's very heavy and we cannot be able to go through it in detail. Read it because you will have an opportunity shortly to debate on it. The fourth person the honourable member who also gave some submission is Honourable Patrick Musimba, who submitted in the introduction of a parallel debating chamber. This is one that can be cited even in the House of Commons, where sometimes when business is so heavy, there is another alternative chamber where you can go and participate actively. Look at, for example, a situation whereby some members have been accused of not participating strongly in Parliament because they don't have the opportunity. Right now, of course, if every member here wants to speak, we'll get time because many other members are probably handing over their documents with the IBCs in the constituencies or basically campaigning. But at the height of a house like this, sometimes members do not get an opportunity. I am not saying that this is what we ended up adding it, but I'm just trying to give you rationale of the Honorable Musimba. And secondly, he also brought in a thought on recognition of independent members in the definition of a parliamentary party. Now, honorable members, you know there are many parties here, and there will be many parties in future. Some going to form majority, others forming the minority. But there is also a tendency that there will be increase of independent members. I will tell you why there will be increase of independent members. One, some parties gave out direct tickets. Obviously, there is always a situation whereby somebody will say, I should have won. That's politics. So they would want to go to independent. Maybe they will win. Also, some parties have conducted primaries. And when you conduct primaries, and honorable members, I should beseech the members who will be coming to the next parliament to consider the place of parliamentary primaries. I mean, not parliamentary primaries, party primaries. Because it's a huge area where it's very difficult for parties to handle because of resources, because of there are quite a number of difficulties that come out of it. It's not about blaming parties for not holding credible processes, but currently we believe that it's only the IBC who can do that. So there are parties who did primaries and they did not do, some members felt that they were not ably given an opportunity to compete, they will go independent. And there are members who simply decided to go independent. So in this parliament that is coming, there is a possibility that we will have very, very many independent members. So what the Honorable Musimba, who is an independent member himself, is saying is that they should be recognized, a caucus should be placed in the standing orders, and they should be given an opportunity to serve. So the next member is the Honorable John Kiarie. He submitted, among others, the proposed strengthening of leadership offices, like the Honorable Dwale did, and the consideration of Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill and handling of members' personal data also. An interesting one, of course, is by Honorable Zuleika Hassan. Honorable Zuleika Hassan, honorable members, if I'm sure you know her well, she served here 2 terms, is the lady member who came to the House with, according to the standing orders that we have now, a stranger. She came here with, I believe, the daughter. And you know, according to the current standing orders, that would be a stranger. But the good thing is that administratively, you, Mr. Speaker, managed to get a way of making a difficult situation better. Now for members who are willing and interested to give birth to also, if you have given birth to children, you can also bring your family here if you want to be seeing them. But I'm told the honorable members here have said that they can deal with that back at home. But administratively, the Speaker and the Parliamentary Service Commission have created something which I cannot pronounce well. I do not know whether it's called a crutch or a crash or what, but I'm sure you know, a gynecologist I see in the House would ably know what it means. But it is a place where you can be able to breastfeed, you can be able to change your child. And by the way, it's not about members of Parliament alone. It's also about the members of staff. So you have an opportunity to continue, you know, increasing population comfortably. So this is what Honorable Zuleika had given as a request that he wanted. Of course, we will tell you what we did eventually. Some of these things that the honorable members suggested, some were accepted, some were modified, and some were we agreed that could be handled administratively. Honorable Caleb Kositany also proposed a variation of sitting hours of the House. The Honorable Millie Odhiambo submitted also, among others, the proposition of ranking members and recognition of caucuses. So, Honorable Speaker, the committee considered also very seriously your rulings. The rulings that you made in communication issued to the House, including the one on entitlement of slots in select committees and discharge of members from committees, which is the one which you gave out on the 9th June of 2020. Additionally, the committee also considered various proposals from the directorates and departments of the National Assembly on the possible areas of amendments noted during this term of Parliament. Honorable Speaker, in the course of its work, the committee isolated the following themes that have informed the proposal of the amendments that are recommended in this report. I will mention them only. I will not go into discussion. They looked at the issue, they considered the issue of public participation, they considered the issue of efficiency, which is in the committees and chairpersons panel. They considered also the recognition of constitutional offices of members and members' service to the House. And Honorable Speaker, they also considered the place of parties and other than parliamentary parties and independent members. And honorable members, there are a few things that have changed in terms of our proposals. I will start with the issue of committees of the House because I know the members would be very keen. First, there is a proposition of creating additional committees, both departmental and sessional ones. There is also a proposal of increasing the vice chair's positions so that every committee will have one chair and 2 vice chairs for a very good reason. You want the committees to work seamlessly. You want committees, for example, that serve more than one departments in government to have a separate chair for one department and a separate chair for the other. Or at least, even if they are more than, because there are some committees which have more than 4 departments within their committee, you can share it out, at least it makes work a little easier. We have seen situations whereby some committees are not able to run well because there is too much work, and sometimes you want even to reduce yourself to become subcommittees, so you can have a vice chair chairing one subcommittee and the others chairing another subcommittee, and then it's reported to the main committee. We have also proposed an increase of the chairperson's panel from 4 to 6. And for us who have served in the panel, we know for sure that there is a lot of work. Many times, members of the chairperson's panel find it very difficult to seek re-elections because they spend quite a lot of time on the chair here, and they are only 4. When members are walking in and walking out, they themselves are here either for the session that is then in place or the one which is coming. So we propose to increase. And as we did the committees, as we also decided to split the committees, I will tell you that for the departmental committees, let me start from the sessional committees because it seems to be a bit more juicier for many members. There are established additional 5 committees, sessional committees. One is one on diaspora and migration. Honorable members, you realize that our citizens in diaspora send quite a lot of money to the country. They are the single most, they are very important component in terms of foreign currency and foreign earnings. They send to their families and they send to their investments and invest in the country. So sometimes it's good for us to handle them in a special way because they give quite a lot to the country. There is also another specific area which I think is of concern to members. We have established or proposed an establishment of a public debt committee, public debt and privatization committee. A committee that will be able to tell us how much we have, how much we can still borrow, what is the difficulty in borrowing. We also look at the issues of privatization. That's another committee that is going to be created if it goes through. The third one is an establishment of a decentralized fund account committee, which is a split from the special fund accounts committee. It's a split. So that's an additional one because it is discovered that these other special funds, look at, for example, that particular committee which oversights our CDF, the national government NGCDF, that's the one by Honorable Wamunyinyi. And by the way, it's very important for members to differentiate. The committee on NGCDF, chaired by the Honorable Wamunyinyi, does not specifically oversight in terms of audit. They do not audit CDF. So it is audited by the Special Fund Committee. Now, that becomes very difficult because you will be dealing with 290 constituencies. Then you deal with the 47, NGAF, I do not know what, National Government Affirmative Action Fund, and other funds. So it's a lot. In 1 year it could be difficult. And yet, they are supposed also to oversight on even other special funds. The Youth Fund, the Women Fund, and so forth. So this one is divided so that you can share it out and make sure that they can be able to operate a bit more easily. is a I almost said order, then I remembered I'm not the speaker for now. I'm basically processing this. So there was also a creation of the Public Petitions Committee. In this house, members bring petitions. In this house, members of public also use members to bring their own petition. There are also petitions that are sent directly to the speaker for presentation to the house. There are a lot. So we propose that we create a Public Petitions Committee which will deal specifically. We understand that it will be a very tall order because the committees will be the petitions will be a lot. But it is a step in the right direction. There is also, I had jumped a particular one, the Public Investment Committee. The Public Investment Committee will be divided into 3. Because if you realize, the Public Accounts Committee, chaired by the Honorable Andai, has done quite a good job in terms of processing, accounts. The audit reports. They have done very well, and we are almost up to date in that particular department, which is a very good thing, and that is something that should go on record, that this is the Parliament that has actually brought accounts almost up to date. That is a success on our part. But on the Public Investment Committee, because of the huge workload, they have not been able to do it. So we have proposed that we divide it into 3. On the Departmental Committee, we have added the Housing and Urban Planning and Public Works Committee. It is a straightforward one. Another one that has been proposed is the Regional Development, also fairly straightforward. Then we have one on Social Protection, which is shared out from the Departmental Committee on Labor and Social Welfare. This will deal with matters relating to social welfare and security, pension matters, gender affairs, equality and affirmative action, and affairs of children, youth, and persons with disabilities, and senior citizens like the Honorable Angwenyi, who was here a few minutes ago. This is the one which will deal with those particular issues. We have proposed a Departmental Committee on Tourism and Wildlife. From this Departmental Committee, from the Departmental Committee on Sports, Culture, and Tourism, we have hived out a bit of that, and then hived out the other bit from the Environment and Natural Resources to deal with matters relating to tourism, and tourism promotion management, and tourism research and wildlife management. There will be also another one, which is a very critical one. This is one on water, fisheries, and irrigation. This is hived out from the Departmental Committee on Environment and Natural Resources and Agriculture and Livestock to deal with matters relating to use and regulations of water resources, irrigation, fisheries, development, including promotions of aquaculture and fish farming. So, honorable members, in this particular, and I'm trying to be as brief as possible because I know members have read through the report and they want to contribute themselves. I have highlighted those specific areas which I know are probably of a lot of interest to members of this assembly. I have shown you how it is that we arrived at what we have brought before you today through, of course, propositions by members and committees. And that, Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, I wish to inform the House that where the committees was constrained in proposing amendments owing to the limits imposed by the existing statute, the committee has proposed a draft amendment to laws identified to reflect the findings it arrived at after considering the issues before it. The following legislative proposals are therefore proposed to be annexed to the report of the committee. And Mr. Speaker, at the end, I will be tabling those particular ones. A is the Political Parties Amendment Bill 2022, which seeks to amend the Political Parties Act 2011 to require the Registrar of Political Parties to convey a certified copy of any coalition agreement deposited in his or her office to the Clerk of Parliament to assist Parliament transact its business. B, Mr. Speaker, petitions to Parliament and procedure, the Petitions to Parliament Procedure and Amendment Bill 2022, which seeks to amend the Petitions to Parliament Procedure Act 2012 to empower the relevant committee of the House to process all aspects of petitions made to Parliament. And Mr. Speaker, as I'm on this, There was an issue also which I think I did not, when we are dealing with the issues of petition committee. Remember, there are members of public who sometimes come to picket here in Parliament. Sometimes they even sleep outside Parliament. Sometimes they stay there for 2-3 days. We are trying to create, using the petitions committee, a system where when somebody wants to picket, they will be given a specific place to picket for a certain restricted time, because surely even if you want to picket, within an hour you will have been heard, and that particular petition that you are bringing to the assembly will have been picked and therefore be processed. We do not want our electorates to be outside here, serve overnight, maybe stay for 2 days, when we can be able to manage. So we have created that particular one under the petitions committee, where they will be able to process some of their petitions that they want to bring here, or picketing, or any of those kind of things. So C, Mr. Speaker, is on the Public Finance Management Amendment Bill 2022, which seeks to amend the Public Finance Management Act 2012 to increase the period of consideration of budget policy statement by the House from 14 to 21 days. D, there will be also the Statutory Instruments Amendment Bill 2022, which seeks to amend the Statutory Instruments Act 2013 to require a regulation making authority to submit evidence of compliance with annulment of regulations to the House. And 3, Mr. Speaker, and CE, the Parliamentary Powers and Privilege Amendment Bill 2022, which seeks to amend the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act to remove the Speaker as chairperson of Committee of Privileges and to require the House to consider members who have served in leadership of the House and those who possess particular qualifications when constituting such crucial committee. I want to point this, that eventually as a committee, we thought as much as possible we should retain the Speaker in some of these very serious committees, including this one, because we consider that a Speaker is a true representation of Parliament in terms of power and in terms of stature. So in some, an issue like issues that arise out of powers and privileges, the only thing that we improved seriously is to create a more serious membership. Members, now that you are here, some of you are first-timers. But when you come back in, and I can see the member for Kabuchai, he's not only a first-timer, but has served here for very few months. I hope his constituents, and I'm not campaigning for him. I would be happy to campaign for everybody else also. But I'm saying it would be very sad if he were to go home this early. He has not even been able to know. And yet he has tried. But I'm just trying to say this. Some of you are now first-timers. But when you come in the next term, you will be a second-timer. It doesn't matter if you served even a month or two in this parliament, the 12th parliament. This Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Committee should be one that is a replica of the Standards Committee in the House of Commons. You would want to put there very serious members of this assembly. I'm not saying the first-timers are not. I am saying when you are a first-timer, there are a few things that you have not acquitted yourself here with that to deserve such a situation where you are able to know to preside over issues that have to do with discipline of your colleagues. You will not even have probably familiarized yourself that when you get into such a committee, you really not need to have some political or party nationalism in you. You can be able to judge your own colleague and judge him fairly or her fairly. This would be a replica, for example, in terms of in the military term, where we would be having this one replicating itself like the military police, which is slightly above the ordinary military in terms of discipline and so forth. So this is as we have in this one asked the House to allow members who have served a little longer, who have some specific qualifications, that they'll be able to, look, for example, if you have the Honorable Amunyinyi here in the next term, looks a very promising one. You would want to have Honorable Amunyinyi because the Honorable Speaker yourself, I do not know, because you have declared on your own that you actually don't want to be here in the next parliament. This is the person we would have wanted to manage because of the experience. And if you want such experience from somebody other than the Speaker we have, we would be talking about people like Honorable Amunyinyi, who has been here for a very long time, who would have understood that once you come in here, even if you came from a certain political party, all these are going to be your colleagues. You will need to deal with them as colleagues. It does not matter whether it's from Ford Kenya, it doesn't matter whether it's from ODM, Jubilee, or any other party. Those kind of members who will rise above things, and it can only be done by a person who has served here a little longer. Well, the member for Kobuchai, if you would have come back, and I think you will, if you will have come back, you will qualify to be some of those members who have, but there will be others who will be more qualified now, like the Honorable Amunyinyi, the Honorable Jimmy here, the Honorable, we have even given members who are serving in certain offices, like now the member for, the Honorable Majority Whip. He has served here this time, now he's in an office. So if he came here, he deserves to be in some of these things that are being created. Of course, the Honorable Judy Jomo, who also happens to be one of the senior members, and others. I can see there are quite a number of members here who are senior. But I'm just saying that this is a creation that will be created. So, Honorable Speaker, I will not want to go to everything. There, it is in detail. It's a challenge which you've just given to us now, Mr. Speaker, that members should read. Once a document has been tabled here, members should simply go to the house, we call it the table office, that which is next to room 7 and between room 7 and room 9. Take this and read it. Go through it yourself. Make sure, and by the way, we are not late. The amendments will not be done today. Today is for debating. You have an opportunity to go and look at some of these things, modify them if you wish, and hope you don't modify them too much because it has gone through a lot of thought. But if there is something that you need to add that will add value, that will be good, the honorable members. Now, Mr. Speaker, as I finalize, because as I started before, I said we are doing a political will. How the standing orders will serve in the next parliament. This is an opportunity, Mr. Speaker, that I would take to thank you because of how you have managed to steer this House for the last 10 years. Let's put it 9, because in the last term, we had a shorter period to serve. Mr. Speaker, you have done well. It's not very easy for people to tell you this, because many times you are doing debate here. You are not in public. The public are happy with you, but most importantly, the members are extremely happy with how you handled this House. You may not also find time, Mr. Speaker, to be in all the social places that are here for members to tell you personally that they are very proud of you. I serve in many, many other offices down here, including one that is very close to the chamber. And truly, Mr. Speaker, we are proud of you. As it is now, Mr. Speaker, it is like now when we go a little sophisticated, this is like when you are in a plane flying, somebody is flying you, of course, the pilot. When they arrive close to where the destination, they have to advise you that we are now going to begin our descent. You are descending to go and land. Mr. Speaker, this is the beginning of our descent, the descent of the 12th Parliament. We are now going to land and hope that we'll be able to fly again. Honorable members, as I wish the Speaker well in all his endeavors, I also want to take this opportunity to wish you members. I know this is a speech that should be made when there will be an adjournment in a day, but there will be many people who will want to speak at that time. I will hope also I'll still have an opportunity to say something else. I will not lack words to say, Mr. Speaker. I wish you well, and I wish members well, and I hope that these standing orders that we are improving will be able to serve you. And there are not too many of you in the House. I can safely say at least those ones who are in the House today. I hope as you make these standing orders, you will be able to use them yourself. It will not be a will that will be used by others. I hope you will be here when this will is going to be opened in the next Parliament for you to transact it. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I wish to thank the Office of the Clerk for the support accorded to the committee and the clerk's office in general. There were many. The clerk himself, the two deputies, the directorates, and they did a good job. Some of we do not have a lot of time to go through to the details, but the clerk's department were able to comb some of the things that we were proposing and gave us very good insight to some of these things. So, Honorable Speaker, I wish to now I now beg to move and request the Honorable Majority Whip to second, and I thank you.
Honorable Wangwe.
Sorry, just a minute. And I had forgotten something small, which is a procedure of the Honorable Speaker. I wish to lay now the said draft pieces, the one which I indicated, of legislations as an addendum to the report. I thank you.
Very well.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I wish to second the report of the fifth report of the Procedure and House Rules Committee on amendments to the standing orders. Honorable Speaker, I wish just to go maybe to one or two issues that are of importance to me and which I feel, Honorable Speaker, really reflect the real situation which I've gone through in the two parliaments that have been served here. Honorable Speaker, the issue to do with the chairpersons, you are assisted by four chairpersons, four members in your chairpersons panel. And Honorable Speaker, a case like what we went through about last week when we were processing the Committee on Supply, Honorable Speaker, the Speaker who chaired the session, Honorable Speaker, took about 3.5 hours. One person, Honorable Speaker, had two clerks replacing her twice. That means, Honorable Speaker, then was really overworked, Honorable Speaker. Why can't we extend it to the second or third? This proposal that we move from 4 to 6, Honorable Speaker, is real. And I welcome it, Honorable Speaker, and wish to invite my colleagues to support that, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, there is the issue of processing of bills. Honorable Speaker, for some of us who have had to process a few bills in this House, it's a challenge when it comes to the issue of pre-publication. And I wish to look at what the committee has recommended, Honorable Speaker, the shift, Honorable Speaker, that, for example, the proposing of arising from a resolution of a House. If at all, Honorable Speaker, we have had a discussion or a debate in this House, and a resolution has come up, and a member brought up that kind of a debate in the House, Honorable Speaker, that resolution should be good enough not to send a member to a pre-publication scrutiny so that he moves on and processes the bill. It took me, Honorable Speaker, your own intervention to pass my education bill, Honorable Speaker, which proposed the scrap of the KCPE and KCSE. It's yourself, Honorable Speaker, which I really thank you and salute you, that intervened for that bill to have gone through. Therefore, this proposal, Honorable Speaker, to just come from the resolution of the House to the bill is a good thing, Honorable Speaker. There is also, Honorable Speaker, the proposals that were passed by a House but lapsed at the expiry of the preceding term of Parliament. Honorable Speaker, you can imagine, time is money. And if at all members have taken time to discuss, to go through a certain bill, and then you want to start it afresh, it's another process, Honorable Speaker. And if we can exempt this from pre-publication scrutiny, Honorable Speaker, it's a good thing, so that we can move at least faster with bills. Also, the final one, which I am happy about, Honorable Speaker, is the proposal that those that have gone through second time, but lapse at the expiry of the preceding term of Parliament. Honorable Speaker, I sit in the House Business Committee, and when you look at how many bills members have had to push through the first reading, and lucky enough they've gone through the second reading, Honorable Speaker, and the term of Parliament has lapsed. It's like now time has been wasted, Honorable Speaker, and that member's effort will not be realized. I think it's a good reward, Honorable Speaker, and if it's well drafted and implemented, it will be a good thing. Honorable Speaker, I stand here as a whip, and this, Honorable Speaker, it's a good thing. Reduction of general membership of committees from 15 to 15, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, it's very difficult to draw a matrix to accommodate 18, sometimes 21 to 23, and other committees, Honorable Speaker, to accommodate 27, 29. It's a good thing, Mr. Speaker, that at least we give them 15, not only in terms of the whip getting easy work of doing, but also the congestion on membership, Honorable Speaker. You find that if you are 21, the level of concentration also becomes a challenge. But if you are 15, one chairperson can be able to manage. Finally, Honorable Speaker, I just want to thank the committee on looking at the issue of PIC. Honorable Speaker, PIC is a very good and very sensitive committee, and now that we are splitting it into 3, it's a good thing for effectiveness, and for it also to look at the report, the audited report. For the reports from the government in terms of investment to the various corporations, it will be faster in terms of implementation. Honorable Speaker, as I finish, I just also want to walk into the footsteps of your deputy to thank you, Honorable Speaker. I appreciate you that we have been together for 2 terms, and Honorable Speaker, you've been of very great help to us. Myself, as a whip, Honorable Speaker, I came into office and you really gave me direction to know what to do. I owe you an appreciation, which I do today, and say, Honorable Speaker, I wish you well for your journey politically and for everything that you want to do. To my colleagues, I want to thank you that we worked together. We've traveled the journey together. Honorable Speaker, it has been very difficult. A house where we have maybe a majority, and within the majority there is the dissenting voice. It takes you, Honorable Speaker, to engage both sides. One side, within one side, Honorable Speaker, there are 2 sides. But you must be able, Honorable Speaker, to make the 2 sides be one so that we move together. It has been difficult, but I want to thank my colleagues that we worked together. I want to thank the Deputy Speaker. The Deputy Speaker has a very good house office, Honorable Speaker, where sometimes we go to listen to him to give us eulogies of the past and predictions of the future. He has been a very good one, and I want to thank you, Mr. Honorable Cheboy, and also salute you once more. Thank you very much. I wish to second.
Honourable members, even as I proposed the question, I just thought about today's situation. That notwithstanding the constitutional requirements that the House quorates at 50, the other House on the other side quorates at 15. It forms quorum. It is said it's deemed to have quorum here at 50 and in the Senate at 15. I think perhaps in our rules we should, I don't know whether we should codify that quorum shall at all times be necessary when decisions are being made, so that when we come in the morning or in the afternoon, the prayers are said, the House can begin business, even notwithstanding the numbers, because some of the things being done at that time are purely procedural. There are no decisions being made by the House. But where the House has to make a decision, that we insist on quorum. I think that way, perhaps it will help us remind ourselves that we don't have to, we can sit 20, 15, but we know in another 30 minutes time the House will be full to capacity. But if we have to wait, and we know there are challenges about transportation, traffic jams, and all other things, and members' engagements in various offices and activities, perhaps I think we may have been gagging ourselves and much to the detriment of service to the country and indeed to the House. Perhaps I think that's an area where we perhaps may need to see whether we need to codify that quorum, unless raised, shall only be necessary when a decision is being taken. But nevertheless, that's just food for thought on our members. I now propose the question, which is that this House adopts the 5th report of the Procedure and House Rules Committee on amendments to the standing orders laid on the table of the House on Thursday, May 26, 2022, and pursuant to Professional Standing Order 264 and 265, approves the proposed amendments to the standing orders as contained in the first schedule to the report, and further resolves that 1. Pursuant to Professional Standing Order 265, the amendments made to the standing orders shall commence upon the expiry of the term of the 12th Parliament. And 2, despite paragraph 1 above, the proposed new standing orders 259F subsection 5, which is about members' biodata and role, shall take effect immediately. Member for Kiambu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Are you member for Kiambu or member for Kiambu Township?
I'm the servant of the people of Kiambu, Mr. Speaker.
The records here, I'm just wondering, because then what do we call the member for the woman representative?
Well, that has happened severally, Mr. Speaker. I know people even have a problem pronouncing my name, and they easily call me Jude, and I accept. And the women of Kiambu would be very happy for me to represent them. So, Mr. Speaker, I would like to support the proposed amendments to the standing orders as proposed by the committee. Because first and foremost, it shows that this House is not static, it is dynamic, and it's changing, and so the standing orders must keep on changing to suit the dynamism of the House. I am particularly happy that it addresses picketing and demonstrations that come to the House. Severally, I have addressed people out there just to calm them down. Because when you see people having to picket to Parliament or to demonstrate, they have come to the end of the road. There is nowhere else they can go. And their hope is that they are going to get a solution from this House. We must therefore think as a House, how are we going to be addressing these desperate people in an honorable way, in a dignified way, and in a way that we will be able to solve their problems. I'm very, very happy about that particular amendment. Mr. Speaker, I also founded a committee on economy and business in this House, and I'm very, very happy, and I thank the members of that committee because they have done a very good work in this Parliament. Mr. Speaker, currently we are doing an exit report which we will table very, very soon. And one of the proposals that the committee suggested is on amending our standing orders so that Parliament is involved when our country is making treaty with other countries. Mr. Speaker, if you remember the last treaty that we dealt with between UK and Kenya, this House felt that it was used as a rubber stamp because the document has been discussed and it was said that we could not change even a sentence, and it was brought to this House for ratification. So, Mr. Speaker, what the amendments would provide this House is an avenue where, right from the negotiations of those treaties, this House is involved, so that we have the teeth to bite, we are able to make changes in those treaties, and we will feel that we are part of making of that treaty, and we are not being used as a rubber stamp. And that we hope will help that a lot. Mr. Speaker, I have been a member of Powers and Privileges Committee, which you chair, and I can honestly say that you have so much in your hands, and any speaker who is there will have so much in his hands for him to also chair a committee. And I think maybe the speaker can be accommodated as a member so that the committee can run effectively. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, as a speaker, you do arbitration. Now, it becomes very, very difficult, you as being the arbiter, then going to Powers and Privileges Committee, which also acts as a disciplinary committee. It becomes very, very difficult for you to, for the speaker to do discipline for the same members who you are supposed to arbitrate. So, Mr. Speaker, I think that would be a very good amendment. And also, the membership, getting more experienced members in the committee and members who have the relevant training will help to strengthen this committee, which ensures that there is discipline and order in this House. Mr. Speaker, there has been proposed amendments on how bills are processed, and that is very good. And I would like to address myself to private members' bills. It is a lot of work to have a bill drafted, go through the parliamentary process, the debating, and finally that bill to be signed. For a member to have gone through that, it's a lot of work. And I think maybe we should change the tail end of the bill, because normally when the bill goes for signing, the member only sees in media that the bill has been signed. I think it is important to reward the member by involving him to go for the signing of the bill that he has done a lot of work for. I know in other jurisdictions, Mr. Speaker, that a member is normally present during the signing. He gets one copy of the original of the bill, and he gets the pen that is used to sign that bill, so that you can go and pin them in your office, so that every day you are proud of the work that you have done. I think those are some practices that we can emulate, so that we can encourage members to draft bills, and also we can appreciate members for the hard work that they do. Mr. Speaker, in signing off, I would like to take this opportunity to send my message of condolence to the family of our late member, our late colleague, Honorable Kamoti, and to encourage them and to ask God to give them strength, and also to our colleague, Honorable Memusi, who lost his wife. I would like to condole with the family. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, I would also like to commend you for the good work that you have done. We have benefited from your wealth of wisdom, from your guidance, and I would like to thank you very much for that work and to wish you the best in your future endeavors, as I wish the other members success in the forthcoming elections, and to ask our electorate that it doesn't matter who you are going to elect, but elect peace. We need peace in this country. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Mavoko. Member for Mavoko.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thought I'd press this button to talk about Kamoti. I don't know whether we are still there. Yes, Mr. Speaker, let me join my colleagues and Kenyans at large in mourning the late Honorable Kamoti. He was my friend. Mr. Speaker, the death has robbed Kenyans of a staunch leader in this country. And Mr. Speaker, yes, I learned of his death with a lot of sorrowness. Mr. Speaker, I know the people of Rabbi also mourning his family. And Mr. Speaker, this was as a result of a road accident. Mr. Speaker, I think we've had many measures and many laws put to bring sanity on our roads. Mr. Speaker, maybe the Honorable Kamote was on the right side of the road, but that road particularly, Mr. Speaker, has claimed a lot of lives. However, Mr. Speaker, I think it's important also, it's a wake-up call for all of us, that we ensure road safety and at all times maintain good speeds. And Mr. Speaker, I hope the people of Rabbi will go back and elect an equal of the late Kamoti. Those few remarks, Mr. Speaker. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Professor Duor.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'd like on the onset to support the report, Honorable Speaker, the manner in which the key issues were presented by the Deputy Speaker and the core concerns are fundamental. Mr. Speaker, I would like in particular to see that looking through the report, there has been a very clear progression of adjusting and taking into account the very fundamental principles that would allow my honourable members to discharge their duty. I, in particular, Honourable Speaker, would like to single out, as I noticed, that it was during the 8th Parliament that the idea of ensuring that the lady member parliaments could come in with their bags then proceeded to be realized in the 9th Parliament. And it is extremely important that we can see the progression, that as we are in the 12th Parliament, then we now are moving from the perspective where we were looking only at the manner of dressing, but indeed recognizing that lady members of Parliament come to Parliament at different ages, and that it is fundamental that no member should be told, as the Honourable Zuleka was, that their child, their baby, is a stranger. I think, Honorable Speaker, although there are very many other aspects that I find useful here, this to me is a true indication that we in the Parliament, particularly the 12th Parliament, even as we somehow did not seem to recognize the significance of the two-thirds, not more than two-thirds gender rule, it brings some sense of balance, because it shows that we, as we are grappling with trying to reconcile the desire of the voters and seeking to bring this realization of the law on elective posts, we can indeed recognize that we would like that members of Parliament who are of the female sex would be encouraged that they can be across age. Honorable Speaker, as I close, I just wanted to also indicate that I do agree that in any arena there must be seniority, and that this would be best placed by the number of terms one has served. But, Honorable Speaker, it would have been useful to recognize that there is a sense in which there would be members who might not have come or be serving their second or third terms, but who would bring other critical skills. I happen, Honorable Speaker, to feel that as a member who is serving her first term, but who has been even a permanent secretary in this country, Honorable Speaker, as I looked, I felt that it is good that the standing order will be using the time within which one has served. But I note, Honorable Speaker, as I look at other aspects of the report, that indeed this is only procedural and useful, but that as a matter of fact, as I have seen even in my two committees, and I can see my chair, the Honorable Member for Mavoko here, in the other committee on national cohesion, that there has been indeed recognition that as we members serve, there are times when it has been recognized that what is useful, which the standing orders recognize, is the capacity, the ability, indeed, to look at members in terms of their representation, their duties, and not so to speak what would be party affiliation, which holds outside the committee. Honorable Speaker, allow me also to thank you as we come to the end of this 12th Parliament for indeed the very, very democratic and wise and balanced manner that we have been able to undertake the discussions, and seeing even that a number of the standing orders borrow from the wisdom and rulings that you made. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I support.
Thank you. Member for Lamu.
Asante Bwana Spika. Mimi moja kwa moja naunga mkono wa ripoti hii, na nimependezwa zaidi pale kwa kuwe na kamati ya maombi, petition committee. Bwana Spika, tumekuwa tukiweka petition nyingi kwa sababu maeneo tunayotoka kuna mashida mingi. Hizo maombi kuna yale yameendelea paka mwisho, kuna yale yamepotelea hayakufika mwisho. Kamati hii kiundwa itatusaidia sana. Manake pia saa nyingine unaenda kupeleka ombi, unaambiwa imefika kujieleza, kisha unaambiwa hii iko kwa kamati nyingine. Saa nyingine zinaingiliana. Upande wa barabara, kwa mfano umepeleka kamati kwa kamati ya barabara, unaambiwa hii ambayo wanafaa kulipa ni kamati ya ardhi. So hii itatusaidia sana kuweza kuleta maombi bungeni kutetea watu wetu. Bwana Spika, pia mimi nimependezwa zaidi pale kwa kamati ya CDF kupewa nguvu ili kuweza kuhakikisha kuangalia zile pesa kwa makini, kwa kina, kufanya ile kazi ya wabunge ya ile inaitwa ya Oversight. Bwana Spika, usengine inasikitisha. Manake kuna sababu ya yale maeneo yaliyotengwa ya kupewa ile pesa sawa sawa na maeneo ambayo yako mbele kimaendeleo. Ilikuwa kuna sababu ya kufanya ile pesa iwainue wawe sawa na wale maeneo bunge ambao wako mbele kwa miundo misingi, kwa barabara, kwa mambo mengi. Lakini inasikitisha, utaenda sehemu paka sasa bado tunajiita jamii iliyotengwa, na ambapo pesa ni nyingi inapeanwa, inafaa ituinue, itulete hapo. Tutakuwa tumetengwa siku ngapi na tumepewa pesa na hatufikii wale wenzetu pale walipo. Bwana Spika, hii itasaidia sana. Kwa mfano, pesa ya CDF inasomesha, inatoa basari. Ukiangalia mfano kwa maeneo bunge, tuseme Lamu Mashariki, sisi tunafaa, nyinyi mnajua, lakini ni zaidi, maximum ni zaidi ya milioni 40 ya basari, na watoto wetu si wengi. Muda huu sisi tulikuwa tunafaa tumetoa madaktari, tumetoa nyanja mbalimbali tufikie wenzetu pale wapo, lakini mpaka sasa bado sisi tutalia tu, sisi ni tumetengwa na tumepewa nafasi. Bwana Spika, hii kamati ikiitilia mkazo itaisaidia sana maeneo yaliyotengwa. Na kisha kitu kingine Bwana Spika, ambao chasumbua, ambao kitatufanya sisi bado tuwe nyuma, tuitwe tumetengwa, ni auditors. Wakifika Lamu, mfano wanafika Lamu town, wanasema kule ni maeneo ya Al-Shabaab au nini. Hapana, sisi tunafanya siasa, tunazunguka eneo zote. Itapatia nguvu hata hao auditor wafike paka Kiunga, wafike, manake kuna sehemu unaambiwa kuna mradi na mradi hakuna, na auditor hawezi fika. Sasa ndio tunaendelea kuwa watu walotengwa siku zote, na kila tukikaa tukisema sisi haya maeneo hatutafanya maendeleo, ndio inakuwa maeneo ya uhalifu. Kwa sababu kama Lamu Mashariki, ikiwa barabara hazitakuwa, pengine zitakuwa Lamu Magharibi peke yake, ile msitu inakuwa ni nyumba za wahalifu. Sasa tukikosa kuwa na maendeleo, uhalifu ndio unazidi, na tukipata shida Lamu, tumepata shida Kenya. Kwa hivyo mimi nimefurahishwa sana na hii ripoti, na Mungu akipenda wananchi wataona wa Lamu wanichague tena nije hapa niwatetee, na inshallah tuweze kuendeleza hii mambo ya ripoti. Asante.
Member for Kibwezi West.
Thank you, Speaker, for this opportunity, and on the onset I want to commend you, our Deputy Speaker, Honorable Cheboy, for chairing such a momentous task in amending our standing orders, which I think has enabled us to have greater progression in terms of our responsibilities of oversight, legislation and representation. Indeed, Speaker, the strides that we've taken into accommodating all the members' views and in trying to seek out the talent that indeed is brought to this House by our citizenry in Kenya is actually outstanding, through the expansion of the committees and seeking to see how we can better govern the issues that the people give us to mitigate against. And indeed, when it comes to oversight over the various departments within government or within the executive, I think Parliament has taken a great stride, and we don't get the accolade that indeed when Kenya talks about our growth, of 5% or 7%, a lot of this is attributed to the efforts that this House indeed puts in. And this has to go on record, that indeed politicians have a very big role in growing our country, and indeed in the role that this Parliament plays. And through not only the committees, but the able staffing that we have, because the resource that we have in this House is actually outstanding. And to this end, I want to commend you, Speaker, as the chair of the Parliamentary Service Commission, indeed, and the staffing role that you do in enabling this House have quality staff that indeed when we've reached out to give us very great input and enable members here to contribute greatly. So we look forward to, again, the prosperity of the next House, and indeed also take at this juncture to really thank all the members that we've served with, and really support them as they go out to seek votes and coming to serve Kenya, indeed in the bigger roles that come in growing our country. So, Speaker, we will again be participating in the next level, which is the actual inculcation of these great amendments to our standing orders, and try and be custodians for posterity of the generations of Kenyans to come. I thank you, Speaker.
Member for Kwanza.
Mr. Speaker, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm looking at this document and quite impressed the way it was presented. The only things that I haven't had a time to scrutinize areas that I thought are of interest, but I think it's a good preparation for the next Parliament, so that when they come, and I hope I'll be among those who will come the next Parliament, inshallah, God willing. I've done what I can. However, I think I'll have divert in the rescheduling of agriculture, which again in the second section is agriculture and livestock, leaving out fishery. Basically, fishing is actually agriculture. But I think the new schedule, I think it's placed elsewhere. It's an environment, I think, which is water, fishery, and irrigation. I think maybe we have to look at that. I think there's an opportunity to amend that, because agriculture, fishing is agriculture, and of course irrigation, as far as I'm concerned, is also part of the agriculture activities. So rescheduling of this one, maybe it may raise some eyeballs. Those will be the next Parliament. But I think the document is well set out, and I want to thank you and the Deputy Speaker for having done this very good presentations and preparing for the next Parliament. And I personally want to take this opportunity to thank you. I've known you for a very long time, if you remember, but I think you have done a very good job here. And when I come, I'll miss you. And I don't know where you're going to be, but the world is dynamic. You never know tomorrow. But I want to thank you. I think you have done a very good job here. And you have made a lot of corrections. You have made a lot of guidance to the Kenyans in general, and those members who have come in as new ones. You've done a very good job here. And those who will be coming, new ones, may not know. But some of us will come. And for me, you can count on me. I'll be here. I don't want to do anything else. I've been requested to go for other seats, but I thought I should come back and continue doing what I'm doing. In fact, I could amuse you in my place. They call me, my constituency, the president of Tanzania, Mikazi. Wanaita mimi Makofuli. And I think it's just not for nothing, but because of what I've done. But I want to thank you and thank the Deputy Speaker for coming up with this very good. I just listened. I've not read it, but I've listened. This presentation is very good, and I hope that those who are coming in will be able to pick up from there, and I'll move on. I want to thank you and wish you well in your next endeavor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Honorable Wandai.
Actually, I didn't intend to speak on this.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Honorable Albert Malimo, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for equally giving me this opportunity. From the onset, Mr. Speaker, I also would like to join to send my condolences, the heartfelt condolences to the people of Rabai for losing Mr. Honorable William Kamote. And I also want to extend my condolences to the people of Kilifi County. Mr. Speaker, I would like to support the amendments of the committee to change the standing orders. And Mr. Speaker, I've noted that indeed the offices of the majority leader and the minority leader, as much as it is anchored in the Constitution, but their election and their removal from the office has not actually been anchored very well in the standing orders, and therefore, if we will be able to know such their removal and their election to the office, it will also be very vital to us. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, as much as we have also brought about a lot of petitions to this House, particularly I've actually brought almost 3 petitions to the House, and I have never actually known or informed the tail end of that petition, its outcome. That actually affects our people so much, particularly the community in Marsabit County, Laisamis constituency, where I represent. You can imagine that we are actually engulfed with insecurity. That my people, just the other day, Mr. Speaker, 2 weeks ago, a head chief of Logologo location, assistant chief of Logologo location, have, plus 5 other people, have been killed as they pursued cattle rustlers from the neighboring county. And until today, even after we have lost civil servants, losing a lot of animals, we have not recovered those animals until now as I speak here. Mr. Speaker, I have actually placed a petition, and I am waiting the security committee to be able to visit that particular area. We also have, within that locality, Mr. Speaker, quite a numbering 6,000 people from the neighboring countries. You can imagine all the way from Somalia and even Ethiopia. They are there, they have converged there, trying to earn their livelihood, but they are also engaged in some illegal business. They have illegal firearms in their possession, and that is actually what is trying to create insecurity around that area. So, Mr. Speaker, you can imagine with this kind of environment where people are actually being harassed, people are not sleeping in their homes because of influx of illegal firearms in the country from neighboring communities or countries. And even if I bring that petition here, you can imagine there is no much information we are getting as people representatives so that we'll be able to know whether the government is defeated or they're almost something like that. For those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I support. Thank you.
Well, of course, there was some reasoning behind the previous consideration of petitions, but I think I would agree largely that a specific committee to handle all manner of petitions, so that if there are petitions to do with matters of security, they will be able to set a date when those in the security sector will appear before them, and they will respond to all of them. If there are others to do with matters to do with land, matters to do with environment, the committee will be able to schedule its business accordingly. But I think, we appreciate that's part of the reason why the committee has felt that we need to change and form a specific committee, because, see, the one committee on administration is also dealing with other issues to do with immigration. It's dealing with, so sometimes you have seen it. You have seen the frustration that chairs of committees have gone through here. That's what has informed the creation of these committees, a standalone committee dealing with all manner of public petitions. Perhaps, Honorable, Albert, we will see some improvements. Pray to God that you are back in the 13th Parliament. Then maybe you'll be chairing you may be the one chairing that committee. Member for Migori.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to add my voice to the rest of the members.
Honorable Wanyonyi, point of order?
Yes.
Yeah?
The Speaker, sorry to interrupt. The Speaker, I'm very concerned as a Kenyan. What my colleague just mentioned. We have a committee here, and we have specifically the CAs in charge of security in this country. It's embarrassing as a Kenyans that people are being killed left and right. I heard from the local radio, the Speaker.
So what is out of order?
The out of order is that I just wanted to, nothing out of order. I want just to say that the committee.
No, Honorable Wanyonyi.
I'm so concerned.
No, sorry. Business is never transacted that way. Not to. I mean, what kind of house shall we be in? Where somebody feels that something has been said and he wants to sympathize and empathize. Now,
thank you, Mr.
Let the member for Migori make a contribution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for your intervention, because I thought this was a ranking member, and if there's nothing out of order, I wonder why he was interrupting. But I wanted to appreciate the committee chaired by you, Mr. Speaker, because I think, apart from this report, I still remember that this is the session and the committee that has also seen the translation of the whole standing order from English to Kiswahili. And I think this is a commendable job, and it shows good progress and good concern for what is happening in this House, which actually affects the entire nation. Mr. Speaker, the report I know has taken a lot of work, being one of the committee members. It is good to appreciate all the members who have contributed and brought forth the amendments. And the committee, ably chaired sometimes by your deputy, Mr. Cheboy. I would like to especially appreciate this report for the section that may not look very attractive to most members, the concept of having members' data and details kept accurately and elaborately by the House. I think it is good that the public knows who their leaders are, and including details and data on education, on social standing, and other accomplishments, so that when a member of the House is required, or their details required anywhere, the House can ably give that information without hesitation. Mr. Speaker, I think members who will be coming back from next election, I would only pray that they continue in the same spirit and continue to review and make better our standing orders and the rules and the regulations that govern this House, so that the debates that come out of this House can always enhance the true stature of our august House and be inspirational even to the young people that are out there who are also wishing to be one day like Mr. Speaker, who is seated right there. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, I support this report and I highly commend the team that have worked on it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Dagoretti South.
Mr. Speaker, it's not in my nature to come to the House this late. It only happened that this is the day I got the slot to go and get cleared or nominated by IBC. So I was racing from Dagoretti South so that I can catch this debate and put in my word to it. Mr. Speaker, the first thing I'd like to do is appreciate the work that has gone into preparing this report. And to quote you and paraphrase, this is actually very, it sets the pace for the 13th Parliament. So I was honored, Mr. Speaker, to be among the people whose proposals were actually adopted by the committee, and for that I'm grateful. But beyond that, Mr. Speaker, I also recognize the work that the committee had to do, up to and including the support they get from our support staff, our staff in Parliament. And Mr. Speaker, it would be sacrilegious of me to talk about this report without commending all the people who have put the hard work, the heavy lifting to painstakingly prepare this report. Mr. Speaker, this is a very robust report. Mr. Speaker, I had made a number of proposals, and I will not want to dwell into each one of them individually, but Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I'll just highlight them as headliners and say that it was in my view that we should change the way we appoint majority leaders. So, Mr. Speaker, I had made one proposal on the mode of appointing the leader of majority party and the leader of majority party once they have been elected by the respective parties. And Mr. Speaker, my proposal had been that after the leader of majority is elected or selected by his party on the leader of majority, that this should actually be formally communicated to the Speaker by the chairperson or Secretary General of the majority party or the minority party that is appointing these individual for information to the House. This, Mr. Speaker, is seeking to remedy a situation where we have not had a clear way of this communication getting to the Speaker. Mr. Speaker, secondly, I had thought that the office of Leader of Majority and the office of Leader of Minority are extremely important offices, Mr. Speaker. These are people in the chamber and the sittings in committee. And I was looking for a way where we would strengthen these leadership offices so that we can facilitate them to be able to discharge their duties. Mr. Speaker, thirdly, I had made a proposal on how we can align the process of removal from office of the Leader of Majority Party and the Leader of Minority Party with due process and fair administrative action, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I had also made a proposal D where I was looking for the increase, the way we would increase members' participations in committees. Mr. Speaker, when we joined as fresh young members, we realized the problem that leadership had to go in placing each and every member in a committee. So we were comfortable going into committees that have 19 members. But the moment the work began, I personally observed that it becomes increasingly difficult for people to conduct committee business. Mr. Speaker, you have severally told us that Parliament in plenary is actually Parliament in exhibition, that the actual work happens in committees, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I was seeking to see if we could be able to increase members' participation in committees by reducing members from 19 to 15, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I had also looked at the establishment of a public debt committee, and this is in light of the situation that this country is in. Mr. Speaker, our debts are actually an existential threat for this country. So even as we have the budget committee and the finance committee, it was my view, Mr. Speaker, that to address the very peculiar and special situation that we have in Kenya, we should have a public debt committee that actually interrogates the debt situation in this country, puts a pulse on the finger on the debt of the country, but most importantly, assists our budget committee and our finance committees. Because, Mr. Speaker, we are normally told that a debt problem is actually a budgeting problem. So if we had a debt committee, it would ably be able to advise our budget committee and our finance committee, and we could start walking the path towards better debt for this country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, finally, I had proposed that it would be important, Mr. Speaker, for us to have a conference with Senate. I know we've had sibling rivalry since the onset of this arrangement where we have a bicameral house that was brought by the new constitution. And I thought that it would be good if the houses of parliament could actually organize formally conferences that would help us tackle these, what we call sibling rivalry between the two houses in this bicameral parliament. And finally, Mr. Speaker, I had made a proposal G, which was the members' role, and the details of it exist in the proposal I had made. And Mr. Speaker, I am grateful that the committee interrogated my proposals, was able to get some few things that they can incorporate into this report, and for that I am grateful. Mr. Speaker, it is my prayer that as we go into this election, that these members shall be guided by Almighty, and hopefully the attrition rate that we see in Bunge, I'm praying that we will be broken with this election, and we shall have a bigger number of members of parliament coming back, because institutional memory is important. In each election, throughout the 5 years, Kenya invests in the members that we have in this chamber, invests heavily. So a high attrition rate of members of parliament is actually an unnecessary expense on the people of Kenya and on the economy of Kenya. So my prayer is that the attrition rate in this bunge that is put at around 70% every election cycle will be broken, so that we can get a bigger chunk of members of parliament coming back to the 13th parliament, so that the institutional memory and the investment that has been made on them for the 5 years does not go to waste. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and for your magnanimity in allowing me to make a contribution, though I walked late. As I explained, I was presenting my papers, and I can say I am a duly nominated flag bearer for the UDA party in the Dagoretti South constituency after being cleared by IEBC. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Well, I think, Honorable Kerry, you are quite lucky. It's only that you came late. The Deputy Speaker, in moving this report, did acknowledge your very, very, astute proposals, which were taken on board by the committee. Of course, some of them which are administrative, like strengthening of the offices of leader of majority, leader of minority, the whips, matters that have been taken up by the Parliamentary Service Commission to handle, because it is true, as you pointed out, that they handle a lot of other work outside of what is just here in the plenary. So thank you for still reminding us about the proposals, many of which had been captured and reported to earlier on. There being no other member ready to contribute, I call upon the mover to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In brief, I want to, on the outset, thank the members of the committee, led by yourself. That I did not mention clearly. The committee members did quite some good job, and it is their product, and I said, including, of course, the clerk and his team. Also, this afternoon, I want to thank all the members who have contributed, led by the Honorable Jomo, Honorable Professor Udwol, Honorable Obo, Honorable Musimba, the Honorable Makau, Honorable Wanyonyi Ferdinand, the Honorable Arbele, Honorable Dr. Pamela there, and the Honorable KJ. They have really given, they have buttressed actually the report from their own contributions. I want to mention just one thing for you to know, honorable members. The report is big, it's huge, and it is not something that I could be able to go through. There are quite a number of other very important things. I encourage members to kindly go and pick your report, look at it, because we are still coming back to the committee of the whole. There are quite a number of areas that I did not touch. In fact, I just gave some highlights of areas which I considered probably a bit more interesting for you members. There are other issues, including bills and others, you really need to look at, many other things that I did not touch because of time. So, Honorable Speaker, having said that, I wish to reply. I beg to reply. Thank you.
Very well. And the mover did indicate that it's one of those occasions that sit for many hours. I only hope that because it has been observed that where the Americans have said, if it isn't leaking, don't fix it. So where it is not being proposed to fix, then we will move like we did in the Committee of Supply on Thursday last week, so that members can then pay attention, particularly to what the Deputy Speaker just said in reply, that there are many proposals, some of which I think are quite exciting, and it will be good that in committee, then people can take some little bit of time to understand them and contribute whatever suggestions they may have. Thank you very much. We move to the next order, which is next order.
Order number 11, the Supreme Court Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 15 of 2022, second reading.
Honorable Angwe. And before moving, Honorable Angwe, I will allow you to go back to order number 5 to table that extra paper, the extra document. Proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for allowing me to go back to order number 5. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, May 31st, 2022. Legal notice number 89 of 26th May 2022 on public finance management, in brackets, national government amendment regulations 2022. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Very well, and also wish to make this announcement that business appearing as order number 13, titled the National Rating Bill, National Assembly Bill number 10 of 2022, whose committee report has not been filed, will not be considered today. The committee responsible, I think it must be the Finance Committee. I can see the Vice Chair is in the chamber. I don't know whether you have considered this. Honorable Oyenya, have you considered this bill? I know you've been very busy with the finance bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is true that we have not found a good opportunity to discuss that, and I don't know whether it is in order for me also, Mr. Speaker, to comment about order number 15 and 16.
Order number?
15 and 16.
What about them?
Mr. Speaker, order number 15 is about the Kenya Revenue Authority Amendment Bill, Bill number 24 of 2022, and and the Public Finance Management Amendment Bill, Bill number 21 of 2022. Mr. Speaker, we had slated both the bills to hear the memoranda and the stakeholders on 26th, and it is on that day that we held the prayer breakfast. So, Mr. Speaker, we are begging for more time to have a sitting with the stakeholders in the future so that we can table reports next week, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, we don't have a very long future with the House. And, as you know, it's so both business appearing as under number 13, number 15, and number 16. Honorable Wayenya, you'd request that they be taken out.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
And I do believe that even going by the title of this bill, national rating, this bill has a lot to do with counties. So you require a lot of, this requires a lot of extensive consultations. And I think it may be, in fact, in my own view, this is a bill that should ideally have started in the Senate. So that, because, you know, it requires, if you are to have a basis for, you know, setting up rates in the various counties, it's not just something that will be, you can clear in a day. And I think it may look mischievous to bring it at the tail end of this Parliament, because we also don't want to mess up counties. There may be good reason to do revision as proposed and even set up the tribunal proposed in the bill, but if I think I have that bill here. You know, this bill, Honorable Henya, I think it has a lot of, it's in its the long title. This is an act of Parliament to provide a comprehensive framework for imposition of rates on land and buildings by county governments, to provide for the then valuation of rateable property, to provide for the appointment and powers of valuers, to provide for the establishment, powers, and functions of the National Rating Tribunal, and for connected purposes. even from that long title, surely this is a bill that requires quite a lot of. I hope there has been sufficient stakeholder engagement. And I'm sure Honorable Wayenya, if you are going to say you want to provide a comprehensive framework for imposition of rates on land and buildings by county governments, it requires quite some extensive consultations, so that you don't disadvantage certain counties by coming up with certain rates or parameters which may not apply appropriately in certain counties or for certain county governments. So I agree with you that I think there is need for further consultation on this, not just one day, I believe, unless the proposers or the promoters of the bill can show evidence through memoranda, maybe from the National Treasury, that they have undertaken such extensive and comprehensive consultation as to result in one policy being adopted as one size fits all. But I agree with you, the Honorable Wayenya. I do appreciate that, yes, Thursday last week was taken away by the National Prayer Breakfast. It therefore means for the House, businesses appearing as order number 13, number 15, and number 16 are taken out and should not even be on the order paper on Tuesday next week. Because the Honorable Ayenya, as if I understood him correctly, they require time to. Maybe you can be ready to bring the report on Tuesday, because in any event, tomorrow is a public holiday. So you only have Thursday and Friday and Monday. So perhaps you can table, if you are ready, Honorable Ayenya, as a committee, you can table your reports on 3 of them on Tuesday, because we will only have Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So whichever, whatever, but just please, because I know some of them are budget related, it's good to see how much ground you can cover within the short time available.
Most obliged, Mr. Speaker. Maybe on Thursday, because they require very extensive public participation.
Thursday next week?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Thursday, the House is scheduled to go on recess sine die. It is not sine die. I've had a member saying sign die. No. This is Latino. It's Latin. It's sine die. It's adjourning to an indefinite date. Even though we can predict, because the Constitution provides that the next Parliament must sit not more than 30 days from the date of the next elections. So you can always predict, but the date is not definite, because that's the only time this, under the current Constitution, that the President of the Republic has power to summon, but he also has been constricted. You remember in the previous Constitution, the President had power to send you home even anytime. But even on this one, 30 days after the general election, the next Parliament must be sworn in. So at least his powers were also, contained, so that he doesn't keep you out there. You have gone through elections, and I'm sure villagers are harassing you in your homes. You would want to be in Nairobi. So that's why the Constitution provided that within 30 days you must be sworn in, so that, and the SRC provided that you cannot begin earning unless you have been sworn in. Previously, members would begin earning from the date that you are gazetted as having been duly elected. So we have to strike some balance. One of those interesting things is the member for Mvita, Chairman of Public Investments Committee. just like the Honorable Majority Whip has done, I will allow the Chair of the Public Investments Committee to table some document. So we'll go to order number 5 and order number 6.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, May 31st, 2022, the 24th report of the Public Investment Committee on its consideration of the Auditor General's report on financial statements of state corporations.
Very well. Proceed to the next. We go to order number 6.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion that this House adopts the 24th report of the Public Investments Committee on its consideration of the Auditor General's reports on financial statements of state corporations laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, May 31st, 2022.
Very well. And I hope now your 2 reports, you should also prepare. There are 3. You should now also. We'll debate all of them next week. Very well. In the meantime, Honorable Wangwe can proceed. We are going to order number, what was it? Huh? Just read it out for them.
Order number 11, the Supreme Court Amendment Bill, Assembly Bill number 15 of 2022, second reading.
Yes, Honorable Wangwe.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the Supreme Court Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 15 of 2022, be now read a second time. Honorable Speaker, it is just slightly over 10 years since the establishment and the Constitution August House for consideration. Mr. Speaker, after close to 10 years of commendable service to the Kenyan people, the Supreme Court deserves to appreciate appreciation of the distinct roles it has played in safeguarding constitutionalism and acting as a guide in respect to getting meaning to very complex constitutional aspirations, such as the role of the 2 houses of Parliament, the 2/3 gender rule, and the place of the basic structure in our constitution architecture vis-a-vis the need for constitutional reform in the foreseeable future. Honorable Speaker, against that fair recognition that the Supreme Court has played in our constitutional democracy, I wish to urge this House to consider this bill, Honorable Speaker, and even strengthen the Supreme Court to enable it to discharge its mandate. In this respect, Mr. Speaker, I have noted that this bill seeks to strengthen the role of the Supreme Court by streamlining its governing framework, the Supreme Court Act, in respect of certain critical aspects that touch on its operations. Honorable Speaker, let me highlight 3 main proposals in this bill aimed at strengthening and properly anchoring the court's role and operations. 1. Mr. Speaker, Clause 11 of this bill proposes to introduce a new section 11A, which speaks to aspects of case management and promotion of the use of technology aimed at ensuring efficient operations of the court. Mr. Speaker, as members will appreciate, the courts of the future may not necessarily be physical courts where you have to appear in person to file documents or make submissions. I have seen courts in advanced countries, Honorable Speaker, employ fully equipped digital services to allow flexibility, thereby improving accessibility. I am aware that even our own judiciary has employed modern technology to a great extent to allow accessibility of its services. B. Mr. Speaker, Clause 14 of the bill proposes to introduce a new section 13A, which seeks to clearly spell out the adjudication processes and standards in respect to imposition or declaration of a state of emergency. Mr. Speaker, this section allows mandates the court to come up with rules in respect to the adjudication process. I am of the view that this is a novel initiative to ensure there is a channel for checks and balances as of relevant in respect to declaration or imposition of a state of emergency. C. Mr. Speaker, Clause 13 of this bill spells out instances in which the court may exercise its advisory jurisdictions as follows. It indicates that the institutions that have the power to seek an advisory opinion. It also provides for the standard that must be met to offer an advisory opinion, that is, a request for an advisory opinion shall clearly state the specific questions on which the opinion of the court is being sought. This creates clarity and avoids litigants seeking an advisory opinion on abstract or hypothetical questions. Honorable Speaker, a detailed review of the bill would reveal many other good proposals in the bill aimed at strengthening the functionality of the Supreme Court. Unfortunately, we are yet to have the benefit of scrutinizing the committee report, but I urge members to read the bill against the provisions of the Supreme Court Act to appreciate the overall intent of this bill. Honorable Speaker, with those few remarks, I beg to move and ask the Honorable Dr. Musimba to second. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Musimba.
I thank you, Speaker, for this opportunity to second this indeed a monumentous amendment bill for the Supreme Court of Kenya. Indeed, we've seen over the last 10 years the Supreme Court really educating Kenyans in the various rulings they've given. We've seen the upholdment of the rule of law. Indeed, the very many jurisprudences that they've set. And indeed, when these proposals have come in terms of amendment and strengthening the functionality of the Supreme Court, this indeed is a step in the right direction in continually making our constitutional dispensation alive. Speaker, I want to single out a couple of things. One being that the fact that the Supreme Court is going to embrace the technology in a really superior way, because during the COVID arena, this was one of the major innovative things that have helped keep Kenya safe, keep Kenya moving, especially in the arena of the businesses which have been adjudicating their many issues in terms through the civil and criminal arena. That Speaker now will be able to allow the Supreme Court to amend its rules in terms of usage of technology, and because they are pertinent things. They've been prone to things like cyber crimes, cyber manipulation, that now they're able to put in systems that would be greatly used by all the lawyers, all the participants, the public, into a portal that they themselves control and own. And this will indeed will drive us and drive the continent in terms of the way the rule of law is being exercised. Speaker, the various petitions in terms of the declarations of state of emergency in inculcation of Article 58 and indeed further Article 96(6) of our Constitution, which enables this House to be able to adjudicate towards the states of emergency, and that anybody who has an issue with it is able to escalate to the Supreme Court. And in so doing, the Supreme Court will be guided in the way they look at its infringement into any statute and indeed the rights and freedoms guaranteed by the same Constitution, so that we ensure that the peace and tranquility that this nation enjoys is for posterity of our generations and indeed days to come. I look forward to the day the Supreme Court will be bold enough to use and mirror the system in the United States of America, where the Supreme Court is a life calling, so that the jurisprudences are well set up by having permanent members who will be there. I know this is not canvassed here, but these are just thoughts for the future that we need as we are driving jurisprudence and continuity, that this indeed will become something that lawyers and judges alike will be able to see, that there's consistency in the way rulings are provided and are upheld at the Supreme Court level. So with those few remarks, Speaker, I stand to second and urge this House to really pass this momentous amendment bill. I thank you, Speaker.
Honourable members, I propose a question, which is that the Supreme Court Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 15 of 2022, be now read a second time. We have one member who has registered interest to speak to this. Honourable Waweru Kerie.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this early opportunity to contribute to this. And first of all, I'd like to commend the Chief Whip majority for moving this. And Mr. Speaker, mine is going to be very brief, because I do recognize that 12 years after the Constitution, Kenyans are appreciating the work that the Supreme Court is doing. So even as we are here in Bunge, trying to make the workings of the Supreme Court better, we are actually doing it not for ourselves, but actually for the Kenyan population that is actually really appreciating the post-Kenya Constitution 2010 epoch, where things got streamlined to an extent that the Supreme Court can now boast of landmark rulings in its very short life. Landmark rulings, Mr. Speaker, some which come to mind are, of course, the Mutunga and the Supreme Court ruling of the 2013 elections, the Justice Martha Koome ruling of the 2017 election. But most importantly, Mr. Speaker, we've got to remember that beyond the politics, the Supreme Court has actually been doing amazing work for Kenyans. So as we are trying to streamline the workings of the Supreme Court, I think it is important to observe the one observation that I made, that the attempt should actually be at modernizing the provision of justice and services that have to do with justice to the Kenyan people. Mr. Speaker, technology is important. So if we are attempting to bring the Supreme Court up to speed with the world of today, where we know that data in itself is becoming currency, then I think this is the way to go. So, Mr. Speaker, I didn't have much to say on this. I just wanted to commend the work that has gone into preparing this and say that actually this is a step in the right direction. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Wanyonyi Kevin, member for Kwanza.
Mr. Speaker, I'm an economist. I'm not a lawyer. But from the way the mover has put it, basically is actually to strengthen the Supreme Court, and so that the function of the court can be up to date, bring it up to date. And I think he made an observation that this has not been done elsewhere, and we should move. We should not be in the third world. We should be able to move. And so technology is with us, and we just have to embrace that, so that as you saw, the COVID area as a period, Mr. Speaker, was a very trying moment.
For sufficient grace upon His Excellency Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, the President of the Republic of Kenya and Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces. Grant him strength, courage, and wisdom for every day's task as he guides the nation. God of unfailing power, may you bless our CDF, the service commanders, and all those under them, that they may use the authority which you have given them for the peace of our nation. Lord, we commit into your hands all those who will work in this facility. Surround them with your mighty hand. Give them protection. May they remain faithful in their service. This is our humble prayer. In the name of God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
In the name of Allah, the all-knowing source of knowledge and wisdom, He taught mankind by the pen which he knew not. O Allah, as we witness the commissioning of Uhuru Garden National Monument and Museum, we want to thank you for being with us since the groundbreaking until today, as we open its doors for the intended purpose. We pray that this resource be of